I'm out here and I'm in the garden. I got my raspberries behind me. I got my collard greens behind me. I got my mustard greens and more collard greens in the back, and I got some eggplant and some watermelon and some cantaloupe and some rosemary, and I got some cabbage and mustard greens and whatnot, and kale, all growing in the garden. I got pear trees. I got Asian apple trees, juneberry trees, fig trees, peach trees, apricot trees. I got gooseberry trees. I got strawberries, all in the garden. And when we start a revolution, where do we start revolutions at? It is my belief that we start revolution in the soil. It's that when we're thinking about healing, when we're thinking about connecting and sharing, when we're thinking about guiding ourselves back to ourselves so we know who we are, because once we know where we came from, we know who we are. I believe it starts in the soil. And even as I walk further back in the garden, what could be perceived as weeds is medicine. Whether it be mugwort, whether it be red clover, whether it be plankton, whether it be Japanese knotweed, it's all a healer. And when we find ourselves creating revolution, we find ourselves getting back to ourselves. And part of that is getting back to our traditions, getting back to our culture. And part of that is putting our hands in the soil. As I speak to my children, as I educate my kids, I always tell them that the beginning of civilization started in Africa, and it started through the trade of agriculture. When we garden, when we grow, when we plant seeds, when we eat food that comes from the earth, we take back our power. We take back our physical, emotional, and mental healing. Because the medicines that derive from the garden are not like the medicines that you get from the doctor. The medicines that come from the garden cure the body. They heal the body inside and out. And food has always been a healer. This is just an interesting time for food because you have genetically modified food. You have pesticides on food. You have food that is no longer food, but a byproduct of food. So when we're talking about creating a revolution, we're talking about putting our hands in the soil. We're talking about taking control of the food, growing our own food, creating our own sustainable food systems. And by doing so, we take power in the healing that happens, that in the healing that's cultivated in our body. We take power in how we support our communities. We take power in how we congregate, community organizing, community development, education. We take back our power. So it's important to be in the garden. So right now, I got some sunflowers in the garden. I got some cabbage that's behind me, and I'm just out here in the garden.